Hey, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good day, good Sunday, good Monday, wherever you are in the world. So happy to see you here. Welcome, post it up. Good to see you. Okay, so we have a wonderful week, I think, a wonderful week coming up. I'm kind of excited about the idea that all the planets are moving forward. Good morning, Juan. Good morning, small wildflowers. Okay, let me back up for a second because sometimes there's new people and they don't know who I am and they think I'm Lotta. Hey, Martina, I was just thinking about you, sending lots of love to you. Okay, everybody, my name is Teri Hunter. I'm an angel therapy practitioner, Reiki master, intuitive guide, and empowerment coach. And I'm here every Sunday morning on Lotta's YouTube channel with messages from your angels for traversing the transits. And what a great week I think we're going to have for the transits, considering what we've been through. So for the purposes of this video, I go by whole sign Western astrology, and it's going to be based on your rising sign. I go rising sign, then I go moon, because I believe that we take our actions based on our emotions, and then your sun. And if you have a stellium in any house or sign, I would check that as well. It's a very strong focus of energy when you have 4 planets in one house or sign, and it indicates a mission within your life path for this journey here. So, hello. Okay. Hi, Kate. Hi, Nellie. Hi, Demetriou. Hi, Lisa. Hey, Small, I hope you're doing well. I hope your friend, you've been able to work everything out with your friend, and I'm glad to see Juan is feeling better. And I want to thank Jenny B for being such a champion last week and helping me with the timestamps. It was invaluable to me. I can't even explain it. Tebow, been thinking about you too. We missed you last week, sending you lots of love, hoping things are working out with you. Hi, Bridging the Realm. Thank you so much. CC Pups, good to see you. CJD, Deborah TT, Mirin, and Severus Martinez, good morning. And Hot Retarded Chick, good to see you back. Good, glad you're hanging in there. Okay, so what I want to just talk about is this new moon this week. We got some fun stuff going on in March, you guys. So this week, the new moon is on, technically in the Pacific, it's on Saturday the 13th. It is in Pisces, and it is in, it's about 3 degrees away from Venus and Neptune in an exact conjunction. And before that happens, the sun will be in an exact conjunction with Neptune on Wednesday the 10th. I'm doing this all Pacific time. My little calendar is on Pacific time. So I want to offer this week because you know, these planets, they traverse around the zodiac over and over again. Hey, Jenny, we were just thanking you for being a champion last week and helping us with the timestamps. So excited. I'm really appreciative of that. Did I say good morning to you, Kate? Hi, Shelley. Okay, everybody, don't be annoyed with me. Let me go back to what's happening this week because, again, I'm just super excited. So Neptune and the sun are going to meet at 20 degrees this week. And while this happens once a year, at whatever degree it is, we're also having Venus a few days later meeting at the same degree. And then at the end of the month, Mercury is going to join Neptune. So it's sort of the sun, Venus, and Mercury all having very intimate conversations with Neptune as they move forward towards Aries. And that's the sign of taking action. So how I want to phrase this is I want to say it this way. Wednesday, when the sun meets Neptune, there is a possibility that there will be an illumination. And there may be things that come to light that bring forth 2 possibilities. One, I feel like, is illuminating any illusions or any hopes that were really based on a shaky ground, because Neptune represents delusion, it represents illusion, kind of looking through foggy waters. But it also represents a very spiritual dynamic. And I was talking to Spirit about the idea of Neptune being egoless. And I got this clear message that it was really, transforming from a sacrificial energy to being egoless in the sense of, this is my passion, this is what I want to create, and I really don't care what you think about it. And so my ego is not going to get triggered by your opinion of what I'm doing. Because if we think about what Neptune really represents, it represents fantasy, dreams, movies, television, in some ways telling stories, the media. So I think it's time to tell a new story, and a new story based on Venusian things. How do I value myself? What do I want for myself? Because now the planets are moving forward. And the heavy duty, gnarly conversations that Pluto was having with everybody else, Saturn and Jupiter and all the other dynamics, these are moving out. And now the conversations can shift from, what has been in the way to looking down the road in a more clear way, or on an more open highway. So I think that's super fun. So here we are on the 7th. On the 10th is when Neptune will be exact with the sun. And that's a very, quick transit. So Wednesday could be a very illuminating day. And in the Pacific, I'm not sure about elsewhere in the world, Jupiter will be visible as well. So I tend to think that the sun may illuminate a belief that one has had that either serves you, as if it's a deep belief that you have not been able to incorporate just yet, or an old habitual belief that it's time to transform and to evolve past. And then as this week moves into this idea of Venus having this conversation with Neptune, we have this new moon. Now remember, the new moon is where the sun and the moon come together, and it's the darkest part of the sky, because it's when we're putting those dreams that Neptune and Venus are talking about, we're putting those desires into the soil, we're planting them and allowing them the faith and the hope that they are going to now truly come to fruition. And I do believe that that's what a lot of this whole transit of the last couple of years has been about, is stripping away. And for those that would not voluntarily, which most of us are, we sort of got pushed into stripping some old illusions away. So I'm really excited about this week. It feels very romantic and very, we're just about to go into the springtime here on the western side of the globe. And spring is when, everybody starts to get that amorous feeling again, wanting to get out into the sunshine and see things grow. And all the planets are moving forward now. So this is really a time to grab on and say, hey, what do I want? And I'm ready to do what it takes to make sure that it happens. Okay. All right, everybody. I want to apologize about the dog thing yesterday or last week with Small Wildflowers. It's funny how when you read a text, you interpret things. And she said my best friend. I just assumed it was the dog. So I am very sorry for your loss, Small Wildflowers, and prayers for your friend in her transition. Okay, so let's go into our readings. Thank you, CJD. I'm feeling very Venusian lately. I'm really feeling this sort of, I've been listening to a lot of music lately. I've been lighting my candles and really connecting with spirit and talking to spirit about what's most important to me. And then telling them that I'm willing to be brave enough to step into that vibration, and for them to make it easy for me. All right, so speaking of our dreamy Pisces new moon, let's go straight into our readings, because we start with Pisces and we work our way towards Aries every single week, because we're just a little different on this show, and we want to bring balance. So here we go. All right. Welcome, Roxanne. Hi, Shelley. Brandon, good to see you. You know, the anxieties you're feeling, Brandon, could be the whole Uranus transit. It's still talking to Saturn. It will be talking, you know, most of the astrologers are focusing in on the exact degree when Saturn meets or squares Uranus throughout the year 2021, but the conversation never really stops. These are slow-moving planets, and the tension between them will go on because it's about sort of, you know, we're in the midst of renovation right now in our lives, and we've gone through demolition, and now we're restructuring. And it isn't about throwing out the old Saturn, but about building on it and seeing Saturn as a cooperative partner these days. Oh, and if Saturn's on top of your Mars, then that would even more so bring that conflict in. So sending good vibes out to you. Oh, yeah, I would think also, I want to say this for everybody in the audience. I think that your dream life may go nuts this week with this dynamic of the new moon and Venus and Neptune having this conversation on the heels of the sun and Neptune having this conversation. In the West, both Saturn and Jupiter are visible, which is kind of cool. And the moon, as it's going through the end of Aquarius, is hitting all those planets this week before it goes into the new moon on the 13th. All right, here we go. Starting with Pisces, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Oops. I'm so glad Shelley had a good birthday. Yay. Happy solar return. New Year's up. All right, here we go. Pisces, our first angel is Maya. The second is Mystique. The third is Archangel Michael. And the final is Celeste. Maya is being joined by the Risk card. Mystique is being joined by the Burden card. Archangel Michael is being joined by the Raven, and Celeste is being joined by the Joy card. Okay, so this is what I want to say for my Pisces. But before I do, I'm going to take a quick sip of my tea and share my new mug with you. It's Lucky's birthday this month, so we're going to start going into Lucky Land. Pisces, this is an amazing spread because what I think is happening is, you know, Neptune also rules delusions where we're looking through rose-colored glasses that aren't serving us. And I feel like with this new moon and with these transits this week, you're really learning, there's Maya, the card of schooling and education, about how to take a risk on yourself. And the risk really comes from the dreams, the desires, the deeper yearnings of what you know about yourself that maybe not have been demonstrated within the physical world, but now have an opportunity to, in this new moon, be planted. And part of what this is going to do is put you in a situation where Mystique is asking you to charge ahead. This is in your opportunity and or your obstacle, to look at the process. I really think, you know, as we've been having this demolition going on in our lives, and, you know, there's been dust flying around and all sorts of debris, it's also clearing the air for us to rebuild. And a lot of us will look at that as a burden in some ways, because we have to step into, if you look at Mystique, she's coming from the dark and into the light. And again, here's a new moon, which is the darkest phase of the moon, where we're planting our seeds. And here it is, Pisces, risking a bigger picture of yourself, sort of taking all of this, what you've known about yourself on the inside. And this is where I want to go with the Sun and Venus having such a close conversation with Neptune. It's like It's almost like they're in a boardroom and the sun has its time up on the microphone and then Venus does. And both are saying, what do I want to believe about myself? What do I want to birth about myself? How do I want to shine a light on my own dreams? And it may be just a bit of a burden because you're having to push a little bit on yourself, because Archangel Michael in the angel's advice is asking you to have the courage to trust in magic. And magic is alignment to source energy. And it also happens, the basis of magic comes from something that is unseen. It is something that feels as if it takes a bigger divine being to make it happen. But in some ways, the bigger divine being is your oversoul aligning with the deeper truth of what you have put into your contract to experience within this life. Because what you have to learn, Pisces, and what you have to enjoy over this, like, let's look at it this way. This, they say a new moon is a 2-week influence before the full moon. But to me, this is right before the spring equinox. And it feels very much to me like you're setting a tone for this coming 6 months. I don't know why I want to put it that way, because as you shift the way you're thinking and risking a bigger picture of yourself, joy is offered to you. And I've talked a lot about how I believe that Spirit has shown me over the last couple of years repeatedly that many people are stepping into a chapter where they're going to experience the greatest love of their life, the resurgence of love in their life, their achievement professionally, and feeling more fulfilled. And part of that activation is this stepping into the Aquarian age, this whole idea of the world itself transforming into a place where our dreams are not something that are a luxury, but rather the priority. Because that's why the soul comes here. The soul comes to this plane to go under the veil so that it can feel, I know this is going to sound crazy, but that fear, that trepidation, that unknowing is the very seeds. It's that dark place in the new moon before the manifestation comes and the big tail wag. I venture to say anybody that has ever watched a competition, like a singing competition, like The Voice, you see these people sitting before their audition and they're shaking like this, right? And then they get a 4-chair turn and they're freaking walking on air. That's what's being offered for you, Pisces. You have an opportunity to walk on air and not feel like you're going to fall, because you're actually setting a new tone for a new chapter, and not just for yourself, but the ripple effect of everybody that you will meet. All right, let's go on to Aquarius. Lots of stuff happening for Aquarius. The moons can hit every single one of those planets. They're hanging out in Aquarius right now. And as it does, you're going to feel each one of those planets. And it'll give you an opportunity to really decide, what do you want for yourself? Oh, I would absolutely help. Aben, I hope your finger feels better very, very soon. And I hope that this new moon brings new life to you. So we'll just put it that way. Thank you for letting us know, Claude. I appreciate that. Okay, here we go. Going to go on to our Aquariuses. Oh, yes. Now I'm going to have that song in my head, Small Wildflowers. That's Pisces, walking on sunshine. All right, let's see what Aquarius, what do they have to say for you? All right. Azure is our first angel. The second is Merlina. The third is Ariel. And the final is Maya again. All right, joining Azure is the Joy card. That's delicious. Merlina is being joined by the Communications card. Ariel is being joined by the Novice. And Maya is being joined by Merlin. This is so beautiful because, this new moon is on the heels. It's not just the new moon, it's the conversations that are happening with Neptune. Neptune in its highest vibration to me is such a spiritual, fulfilling planet where my dreams, my desires, my intentions don't just become something for me to experience, but something I get to share, because as others experience me doing that, it triggers a possibility within their minds. So for Aquarius, this is what I want to say. I feel like the focus is on you this year. With Saturn and Uranus, your two ruling planets squaring each other, there's this real opportunity to break out. And here is Azure, and I just got chills everywhere, saying your desired outcome will happen in the near future. Have patience and faith and don't try to force it. Force is a resistant energy. Force is fear laying underneath it. So here's the joy card. So this is to me saying, focus on the outcome. And I want to offer it this way because it could be anything from, wanting to enjoy the springtime or the fall, wherever you are in the world, wanting to get out again, wanting to move your story forward. I believe this is all going to happen for us. We're moving into Aries season shortly. So Aries is about moving forward. So as we go through this new moon, it's almost about setting this intention for how I want to move my story forward in this as the year progresses. Because Merlin is saying you're confused and indecisive. And I think part of that is because when I look at the communications card, I don't necessarily think that it's about talking to other people. I think it's sort of about running scenarios in your head. It's sort of like thinking, well, I want to do this and this is how I'll get there, but I don't have the money for this, or blah, blah, whatever the story is. Because this is your opportunity and or your obstacle, is to pay attention to, is this confusion me running scenarios from a place that I am almost standing not in a defensive posture, but in a bit of lack or scarcity? What do I have to do that's hard to make this happen? Because what I think is happening is now it's about an invitation for spirit to bring you the experience and you not having to work hard, not having to push up against it. Because in the angel's advice, Aquarius, is Ariel saying new psychic and spiritual experiences, Neptune, are changing the way you view yourself and others. And viewing yourself, that's very Venusian. And then here's the unstable new beginning. And what it is in relation to your communication with spirit and with yourself. Because here's the card again, Maya, schooling and education, and Merlin, which represents the ultimate magic, justice, balance, and alchemy. And this is in direct relation in the 3D world to the joy and the Azure card. I feel like, well, people may think of the square between any planets, really. A square to me is, while it feels nasty maybe in the beginning, it's because it's sort of like fear. It's also the seed for empowerment, because as we are pushed through that square to take action or to reassess a situation, it opens up our opportunities. So I think what you're going to learn about is where your focus is, about surrendering to the changes and the shifts within your own thinking process. Because one step forward, two steps back, but that's okay. Because 2 steps back gives me perspective to take 3 steps forward. And I do believe that you're going to start to see magic happen in your manifestations. And now, as that magic happens, if for some reason you get kind of so excited that you say, oh my God, I can't even believe I did that, and then it reverts back to an old dynamic, you have the education to know how to align and then realign. And this is going to start to build a muscle that makes you a powerful manifester. And I wasn't going like this. I was trying to go like this. Okay, let's go on to our Capricorns. Happy birthday, Stephen. Happy solar return. All right, here we go. Irina, I would say this. You're asking if it's a good time to take a risk. I cannot do a personal reading here, but what I would offer you is the opportunity to really look at, you know, how you are perceiving help. Because if you're perceiving it from an arduous place, it may bring in an arduous energy. So I want you to look at it as an opportunity. If you decide you can bring somebody on, then spirit will support um, your finances to afford that. That's where I'm going with that. Okay, here we go. On to our Capricorns, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Archangel Gabriel. The second is Mystique. The third is Grace and Antoinette. And the final is Xana. All right. Archangel Gabriel is being joined by Merlin. Mystique is being joined by the Communications card. Grace and Antoinette is being joined by the Magician. And Xana is being joined by the Risk card. I really believe that part of the transformation of the human is to step out of what they see with their eyes and what they feel with their heart. Because there's, for Capricorn, a lot of people will talk about Capricorn and Capricorn rising. It's the lens of how you look at the world. So most astrologers will focus on your stoic behaviors, doing things that, you don't necessarily like, but you feel obligated to do. The idea that you're a rule follower, a bit of a taskmaster, strict. I really feel like Saturn gets a bad rap. Like Saturn in ancient times has been defined as one thing and never evolved. And I think that's not true. So as Capricorn, who's ruled by Saturn, has gone through this tremendous transformation with Pluto and Jupiter having conversations, arguments, maybe even within your sign, I feel like that is all part of this alchemy. This is part of Merlin's magic because it's redefining for you how you talk to yourself. What is your dominant conversation? And, the person whose dominant conversation is, man, I'm so broke, I'm so broke, I'm so broke, I'm so broke. It is literally a vibration. It is literally a law of attraction starting to get momentum because Mystique is asking Capricorn in your opportunity or obstacle to, what does she say? Keep charging ahead. Expect miraculous solutions and they will appear. And this is where you take your Saturnian energy. And as you really go, okay, I don't know if I believe this is true or not, but I know how to do something that I don't want to do. So I'm going to believe in this, or I'm going to start to chant something different. Money comes to me easily and often. Money comes to me easily and often. I receive money effortlessly. This is a momentum. It's time, Capricorn, for you to change the momentum of your conversation and to start to have compassion for yourself as you realize what magic really is. Magic is not outside of yourself. It's straight up inside of yourself. And that straight up inside of yourself is that willingness to align to a bigger picture that you can't see with those physical eyes, but with your interior heart, because your heart is where your oversoul is. Because Xana is telling Capricorn, you're being protected from all types of harm. And now is time to risk something. And I'm not asking Capricorn to stand on the edge of a cliff and jump off. I'm asking you to look at how you're talking to yourself, because this is where this new moon comes in. This is where Venus represents my self-worth and my possessions. And Capricorn loves to have nice things. It's a leadership sign. It's a sign of enjoying material benefit. And there's nothing wrong with that in balance. And that balance is for Capricorn, not having to work so stoically and so diligently and so with so much effort, but rather effortlessly and inviting it in. All right, going on to our Sagittariuses. And as I say that, I'm going to say, don't be afraid to hit that like button, guys. We like likes. Oops. Oh my God. Spandex and Aquanet. Now that would be, I just saw Grease in my head now. I just saw Olivia Newton-John singing, and I won't start, but you know the song I'm thinking of when she's in her black spandex. Okay. All right, everybody, here we go. Sagittarius, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Welcome, Lucy Rose. Good to see you here. Janelle, welcome, welcome. All right, Sagittarius, our first angel is Indriel, the light worker. The second is Rochelle, asking you to honor and follow your heart. Ray is about connecting to your source. And Azure is saying things are happening. Whoops. All right, here we go. You bet, Small. You're the one that I want. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Sorry, I should never sing. Okay. Indriel is being joined by the king for Sagittarius. Rochelle is being joined by the cat. Ray is being joined by the goblin. And Azure is being joined by the fear card, which is interesting. Because what I think is going on here is, you know, and if you haven't referred to the beginning of the video to talk about the transits, you can go back. But what I want to say for Sagittarius here is, you know, Indriel represents the light worker. And so does your sign. You know, it represents a connection to the angelic realm. And I really believe that as this new moon starts, as the sun has this conversation with Neptune, and as Venus has this conversation, and then Mercury on the heels of it, it's really about shining the light of what you want, because it's now time. It's time to take your life by the horns and start to drive it in the direction you want to go, because this is really more about you. How can I say this? I want to say this lovingly. Sagittarius, I think sometimes if you get nervous, you may defer to a new direction, and you may, you know, kind of deflect what it is you want and rationalize it in your mind. And I say that because in the final position, I have Azure saying your desired outcome will happen in the near future. And there's the fear card. So what that's telling me is that your fear is false evidence appearing real, and somehow you're blocking your manifestation. So I want to offer it this way, because as we evolve, we tend to focus more on we don't look at our evolution often. We don't celebrate, you know, I used to be like this and now I've come here, you know, and we tend to hook into that old story. And I feel like for Sagittarius, now it's time to follow your heart. It's like you have another life. The cat for me is really about a new life. And the thing that's blocking it is in some ways your ego. And I want to say this lovingly, going back to this fear card, because this is where we edge God out. And Ray is saying, no, please connect with spirit. Because as you continue to shine your light and to speak from your heart, we start to show you things, Sagittarius, that are maybe considered foreign to the human experience and magical in some ways. And that's where the fear actually becomes something that you say, I don't really like it, but boy, is it fun on the backside. And I say that because if any time, I don't know if you guys, I mean, I think each one of us can go into our history and find a moment where we did something we didn't think we could do. We conquered something, we achieved something. And when we sit in the vibration of that achievement, it is so exhilarating. And it really is the contrasting experience that affords us that joy, that excitement, that vitality for life. So I believe that it is just and it is karmically time for Sagittarius to start to own their magnificence. And Spirit is offering you a new beginning with this new moon as you realize where your ego is edging God out. Exactly, Lucy Rose. And in doing so, you can start to see that fear is not really trying to pull you under, but rather it is identifying what isn't working for you, what is working for you, and where habitual thoughts are no longer valid. And you can just sort of say, wait a minute, I think I've moved past that. And don't ever try to release anything, incorporate it. Okay, let's go on to our Scorpios. All right, I'm going to do one more, my little sip of my tea. Okay. All right, Scorpio, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. All right, we have Crystal in the foundational position. We have Xana in the opportunity and or the obstacle, Archangel Raphael in the angel's advice, and Ariel in the final position. Crystal is being joined by the Goblin. Xana is being joined by the Burden card. Archangel Raphael has been joined by the Partnership card. And Ariel is being joined by the Communications card. Okay, so Scorpio, to me, Scorpio is such a rich sign. It's like, the ultimate savory sign. It's deep, it's intense, it's connected. It's, the eighth house rules sex. So in some ways it's very vulnerable. And because it feels so deeply and sees the unseen, it's very vulnerable sometimes to outside illusions. That's the way I want to put it. And one of the aspects of this new moon and the idea of the sun and Venus having this conversation this week with Neptune is that illusions could be broken. There could be things that come to light that have not served Scorpio. And they're things you may have avoided because you didn't want to have to journey on. And I say that because we have the Goblin and Crystal saying, have faith and hope there's more on the horizon that you can't see. And the Goblin is really here where the personality has been wounded in some way. And in doing so, you cannot see God's love or the wisdom behind what's happening. And I want to offer it this way because I've been watching Nova and On the Planets, and they did this whole special on Pluto. And Pluto from space literally has a heart that you can see within the planet. I mean, it's humongous, like the size of a country here in the United States. So I feel like anytime that Scorpio isn't true to its deepest, authentic heart space, they will feel challenged. They will feel that they're not aligned because Xana is saying you're protected, and you're protected from this feeling of burden that you've had. And I want to offer it this way because the burden is that inner knowing. And sometimes the inner knowing is saying, Scorpio, it's time to move on from this particular experience because it's not serving your heart. And your heart yearns for something much more aligned, something where you can sit in that deep, I can't think of it. Oh, it's that Kama Sutra. Is that how they say it? That deep connection, because what Spirit is offering you in the angel's advice is a healing in your partnerships, and the partnership is the partnership with how you want to experience interactions with the intimacy of your life. And now is time to really pay attention to how you're communicating with Spirit, because we can change the experiences. This is what this new moon has to offer you, as the illusions are illuminated and the opportunity to set new seeds for manifestation come in, with Venus, saying, I want to feel valued in my relationships. I want to feel rich within them. And so it's a surrendering to, not judging good or bad, not having to take action to go or stay, but rather just being willing to look from that heart space. And is this truly serving the kind of connection I want? Because, Virgo doesn't need that kind of depth. It doesn't really require it. It wants other things. And each sign has this sort of focus of what really rocks its boat. So rather than rubbing up against something that isn't truly aligned and then tanking yourself and pulling yourself under, what about opening up to true alignment and not assigning it a name, a face, an address, or a phone number? Okay, here we go. On to our Libras. Oh, I said I wouldn't sing. I love to sing. I really do. My next life, I'm going to come back as a singer in a rock and roll band. I'm not kidding when I say that either. Next life is going to be a reward life. This one has been a little rough so far. No, it's been good the last few years, but I'm 61 years old, so got a lot to go on. Oh, welcome. I don't know how to say Kivikoivu audio journey. Welcome. Good to see you here. Thank you for joining us this morning. All right, here we go. Singing is so good for the soul. I actually believe that music is the language of the soul. Okay. Whoops. All right, Libra. Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Welcome, Nicholas. Paulina, good to see you. I love to listen to music while I'm cleaning. Oh my goodness, that's one of my favorite things to do. I've really been into my 70s rock lately, you guys. I gotta say it. Blondie, Joan Jett, exactly. Leonard Skinner, really been listening to a lot of Skinner lately. Just posted, on Monday night, I was feeling very much the Venusian energy, and I had all my candles lit, listening to Leonard Skinner with the music, the lights all off, just candles. It was fun. Okay, hey Scott, welcome. All right, on to Libra, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Athena. Our second is Crystal. The third is Indriel. And the final is Archangel Gabriel. She's a busy one these days. I think it's Vanilla Ice, Jenny. Vanilla Ice. I don't think it's Vanilla Fudge. All right, here we go. All right, here we go. Libra. Athena is being joined by the Lady of the Lake. Crystal is being joined by the Joy card. Indriel is being joined by the Burden card. And Archangel Gabriel is being joined by the Risk card. All right, here we go. Athena says it's safe to lovingly assert yourself. And the Lady of the Lake is about self-respect. It's about courage. It's about truth. And I want to put it this way, because I don't think, I'm a Libra sun, and I don't think that this is about a truth that you're announcing to the world. This week we have this transit, and I'm repeating myself a bit just in case anybody just goes to their timestamp. The focus of this week is, for me, the new moon, but also it is the sun meeting exactly at 20 degrees with Neptune on the 10th in the Pacific time. And then it's going to meet exact at 20 degrees with Venus. So this is a really big conversation. Libra is ruled by Venus. And I feel like this is really about having the courage to look at yourself, Libra, and say, what do I really want? Because we're the sign of partnership. And oftentimes, I think that Libra inadvertently is overly cooperative, hoping that the other side will actually acquiesce to what Libra wants. And then when it doesn't happen, they get a little cranky. And I say that lovingly, but I feel like this is really about having the courage to assert myself and communicate really authentically. Really looking whether I feel cooperative in a situation or I have my heart set on something and I need to let people know my heart is set on it. Because in the opportunity or the obstacle is crystal, saying have faith and hope because there's more on the horizon that you can't see. And there's the joy card. And I feel like your conversation may be received more favorably than you might anticipate. And it's because of the way you're communicating. It's because you're actually being that Libra balance, but instead of being overly accommodating, you're being just and fair. And it's interesting because I think you've had some trouble doing that, really shining your light on the earth right now because you haven't wanted to make waves in some way or create, we've been going through such a tense time in general. And if we think about it, partnerships are not just marriages between two people. It's, the contracts that we make. It's, Libra represents diplomacy and harmony, and the world has been nothing but disruptive lately. So this may be part of why you're feeling burdened to see the movement forward. But now the planets are moving forward. Yes, there's still more reconstruction to be done, but Libra, now it's time to risk a bigger picture here. And I think here in Archangel Gabriel, yes, she's talking about communications, but she also represents the arts. And I feel like for my Libras, this is about, yes, how you're communicating your wants and your desires, but also allowing yourself to come into partnership with your own authentic desires. What do you really want for yourself? Libra and Venus, I kind of think of Venus sometimes as it's a way of expressing myself that comes from this passion. I guess that's what I want to say. And I feel like it's okay for Libra to start to risk, what are you passionate about? What am I, and letting that open itself up. And it's funny, we're talking about singing and we're talking about, we weren't talking about creativity, but all of a sudden I see Mr. Antone 40, Mauricio L. talking about working on art. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Because the world is evolving in a place when our own creations have a platform that they've never had before if we're brave enough to step into the arena. So, Libra, it's time to dig deep on this new moon. What do you really want to birth? What's really important to you, Venus? What do you value? Enjoy that. All right, let's go on to our Virgos, rising sun, moon, and stelliums. Welcome, Tamika. Haven't seen you in a while. Sending love and light to you. Okay. Be brave, Lucy Rose. That's right. I like it. I think we're being brave. And I want to offer this too. For those of you, because I see a lot of new names in the chat. And I've been saying this for quite some time, but I truly believe that regardless of your age right now, as you stand in your authentic truth, we are part of a team of light workers that are being activated to realize our greatest loves, our greatest achievements, our greatest fulfillment, as we rewrite the structure of how the human views this earthly experience. And the obligation, slavery we have felt to our bills, to our crap, honestly, that's all being broken away. The shackles are being removed. And what we don't realize is while we're fighting against those shackles, it gives us something to do. But once they're off, there's a moment when we don't even know what to do, where we need to adjust to the new freedom. Give yourselves a break, people. Okay, Virgo, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Woo. Oh, goodness gracious. Cards are just flying out. All right. Virgo, our first angel is Layla. The second is Athena. The third is Xana. And the final is Chantal. So as I'm shuffling, I want to say this about Virgo because I'm always studying, and I tend not to just hang out with one teacher. I like to kind of traverse the YouTube and listen to different people talk about different things. And I was listening to Rick Levine. He's he's been doing astrology for years, and he was talking about Virgo, and he was talking about Virgo and the purity that it represents. And as I was listening to it, I thought to myself, that's Virgo. Their job is not to be perfect, but to enjoy the journey of perfection, because the perfection is not being perfect. The perfection is the journey itself. And I was just so excited about that. So let's go with that as a theme for Virgo on this new moon. Layla is being joined by the transformational death card. Athena is being joined by the Goblin. Xana is being joined by the Wrist card. And Chantal is being joined by the Baird. So interesting. So in addition to astrology, I study the laws of attraction and Abraham Hicks. And Abraham offers processes for decades now. And one of them they call, I think it's called intentional segmenting. I can't quite remember. And I want to offer it for this with Virgo because Layla's asking you to speak to spirit about what you really want with your intentions. And I feel like Virgo tends to talk to spirit in such a way that you, and that's if you talk to spirit at all, in a way of what you think you can get versus just being unabashed, like a child giving a Christmas list to Santa Claus. And I feel like if Virgo could use this dynamic of Neptune removing the illusions of perfection, because the perfection is the journey. And the purity of the innocence, that's what purity is, the innocence of discovery. So I think that's what this is about. So here we go. Neptune on the 10th and the Sun are going to illuminate in some ways the spiritual dynamic of how the illusions have served you, your dutiful behaviors. Because, and I say that because when I look at this, obviously the death is transformation for me, but this looking at my intentions, Virgo represents service to others. And from a spiritual perspective, that's very joyous, and that's part of why I don't have to be perfect in my spiritual journey of helping others. I just get to be authentic. Because Athena in the opportunity or the obstacle is saying to lovingly assert yourself. And then we have the ego here. And this is kind of a dual thing for me. This is like my opportunity and this is my obstacle. My obstacle is thinking I have to be perfect before I can put myself out there. And I disagree because Spirit is saying it's time to risk it, Virgo. You're being protected because it's in the perfection of the imperfection that people will respond to, because this is the angel of love and love of your history. This is where your story transforms and it actually becomes the platform and the step for your ascension. And maybe your greatest service is in the recognition of it's not about me being perfect. It's about me being pure in my willingness to walk on the journey. I think of the 6th house as such a rich house because the 5th house represents romance, right? And the 7th house represents partnership. And right smack dab in the middle is the 6th house of slavery, of work, of health, and of pets. And I kind of think of the 6th house as my attitude towards my work. What am I enslaved to? And how I feel about my body and the temple that drives the bus. I'm bringing that into the partnership, because once the romance dies down, there's the everyday life that kicks in. So Virgo, as you give life to the idea that my sixth house is about the perfection, and that the journey is flawed. That is the perfection. And as I'm willing to traverse the flaws and see them as opportunities to empower myself, I think you're going to fall back in love with yourself. And I want to say this too, because the Baron is the enchantment of storytelling. So for my Virgos, ruled by Mercury, who are writers, teachers, or oral, speakers of some kind, you're going to start telling stories about how your choppy road made you fall in love with yourself. And that's so exciting. That's the perfection. All right, here we go. I work backwards, everybody. If you're new to my show, I start at Pisces and work my way towards Aries. I just finished Virgo. I'm headed on to Leo. We should be rounding about to Taurus in about 15 minutes. Usually about an hour and a half the show. All right, here we go. The seeing the repetitive ones is always Spirit giving you a heads up about your thought process. What are you thinking? Your thoughts are manifesting. They're creating a momentum. And if indeed your thoughts are aligned to what you want to experience, fabulous. Think about them over and over again. But if they're aligned to your struggle, then thank Spirit for allowing you and Neptune and this transit of this week to remove those illusions of disempowerment, of scarcity, of things that don't serve you. All right, here we go. Welcome, Lama Ziad. Good to see you. Welcome, Melissa. Did I say hi to Dosi Farah? Welcome. All right, here we go. Leo, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. I'm always feeling this last few weeks like I have to say this because it just feels so important. Leo is ruled by the sun. The sun rules the whole zodiac. Every planet that the sun comes in contact with, it is said that the sun in some ways outshines it. So now we think about, what does the fifth house rule? Romance, children, your own creative pursuits, your hobbies, pleasure. And I think it's time we all started to pay attention to why the sun rules the fifth house. The sun doesn't rule the 10th house, doesn't rule the first house. It rules this planet and us enjoying it. Pay attention. All right, Leo, our first angel is Celeste. The second is Ariel. The third is Layla. And the final is Ray. And if you didn't get what I was trying to say there, what I'm trying to say is we're supposed to be having more fun on this planet. We're supposed to be following our sun, what makes us joyous. And boy, when we do that, nirvana truly does exist. All right, Leo, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Joining Celeste is the Truth card. Joining Ariel is the Dragon. Joining Layla is the Wealth card. And joining Ray is the Hawk. Okay, so Celeste talks about a new move to a new home or a new place of employment, changing the way I view myself and others. But I think you guys know me by now. You can put me in a new job. You can put me in a new home. I think and have a certain belief system. And I'm going to take my actions based on that belief. So now what I want to say is this is a shift in the way I'm thinking. And for my Leos, this is a shift to your deeper truth. I think that as we move towards the sun, your ruling planet is going to have a conversation with Neptune this week. And on a day when Jupiter is at least in the Pacific, as far as I know, is visible in the sky. And I think it's a new chapter, if not a new book, Lucy Rose. And I think it's based on those fifth house things, because I feel like it's about claiming these dynamics with the leadership that the sun represents, but also at the same time in a way that invites others to join you. Because Ariel says in your opportunity and your obstacle that here's the power and strength card, and then Ariel is saying that new spiritual experiences are changing the way you view yourself and others. And I think this whole last couple of years has been spiritual experiences, whether we realize it or not. And I think it's empowering you to want to spend more time in a harmonious wealth. And I feel like Layla is saying to you, in order to anchor yourself in, continue to have that conversation, Leo. Continue to have the conversation that comes from your deepest truth. Because what will inadvertently start to happen is that where you have been labeled as boastful or too big or too much, I think that your leadership skills will start to be appreciated. And this connection that you have to this deeper truth will start to reveal itself in signs and omens that this is the age of Aquarius. So overall, as we look at this new moon on the 13th, that's the seedlings for new things, where the sun and the moon come together to create something new based on a conversation that Venus is happening with Neptune. What to the depths of my soul do I want to experience? And even though I haven't experienced it, do I still believe it's possible? And if I believe it's possible, am I willing to start to look for the signs and the omens that I'm being led that way? Because there is, throughout, while I'm focusing in on the higher vibrations of these Neptune conversations, they're also going to illuminate what hasn't been serving you, so you can step into a vibration that does. All right, let's go on to our Cancers. For those of you that are new to my show, welcome, Joan. I go backwards. I start at Pisces and then work my way towards Aries. Lucy Rose, I'm not quite sure what you're saying because I might have missed. Oh, wait, practice for the future and the now. Exactly. And the thought is, why can't it happen? Agreed. And, because that's part of giving life to the idea that you're ever evolving. And even though it didn't happen over here, why can't it happen right here? Why are we dragging yesteryear into today? Because again, I want to really emphasize, especially when I'm talking to a tribe of people coming to a place like this. You're a spiritual light worker, whether you know it or not, and you're being activated. And it's an invitation. You've got to accept the invitation to be activated and start to give life to the idea that my life is a beacon for what can be in the way of joy, in the way of connection, in the way of fulfillment. All right, here we go. Our Cancers, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Chantal, the angel of romance. Our second is Archangel Uriel, the angel of frustration. There's Layla, and then there's Yvonne. Okay. Thank you, Lucy. The chills is when the angels are patting you on the back saying, yep, that's it. Dosi Farah, I believe that all energies that are, I don't think that anybody's excluded unless I kind of want to put it this way because, we don't want to think that dark energies can come in, but we fairies, angels, there's all sorts of different types of vibrational life out there. And as we set an intention to speak to the highest of those vibrations, I think that's the invitation. Okay, back to Cancer. Chantal is being joined by the mystery card. Archangel Uriel is being joined by the partnership card. Layla's being joined by the earth fairy. And Yvonne's being joined by the fear card. All right, my dears, this is what I want to say. Chantal is the angel of romance, talks about romance coming in, either in the resurgence of a new relation or the resurgence of an existing relationship or in the form of a new relationship. And then we have the choice card in the form of the mystery. And I want to offer it this way because Cancer represents home, hearth, property, our patriotism. And I feel like on some level, Cancer has felt very vulnerable through the last couple of years, more so than some of the others, because of the separation from family and home that we've all experienced on a global basis. And I feel like there's been a frustration for you that you can't seem to shake. This is the partnership card. And I feel like sometimes when we're under such duress for so long, it's like we get post-traumatic stress syndrome. And I feel that's a little bit what's happened to Cancer. And so as this new moon comes and as Neptune has these conversations this week, you really have an opportunity for your ruling planet to remove the illusions of separateness, to remove the illusions that you are by yourself and alone. And I feel like that on some level, Spirit is asking you to start to write a new foundation. Layla talks about talking to Spirit with your intentions, what we want to experience. And then the Earth Fairy is about groundings and foundations. And in the final position, Spirit is telling me that Cancer has fears of being vulnerable. So this is where I want to go with this. Abraham has, I mentioned it with another sign, but I'm going to repeat myself because for the timestamps. For Cancer, I think this is about intentional creation just in small chapters of your life. I feel like this new moon might be declaring to Spirit, I need an experience to help anchor my belief. So thank you for giving me that experience so that I can remove the illusion of separateness, that I can feel safe in my vulnerability, because I'm only vulnerable to my inner knowing. I'm never really vulnerable to somebody else, because it's my inner knowing that when it's saying something I don't want to hear is when I give up my power. So I think that Cancer has an opportunity to transform their frustration as they become braver in their willingness to see a bigger wisdom of things. And sometimes, and I've felt this very strongly for Cancer, that the separation you may be feeling from the last year, and we're really going on a year now, at least they closed us down a year ago, that this may create sweeter relationships for you. People that when they're around you now, they appreciate your energy so much more and they're so excited and there's more connectedness. It's time, I think, to really put an intention to rewrite the story. And that's what Spirit is asking you to do, to rewrite the story of your frustration. And rather than to see the frustration as tanking you and pulling you under over and over again, rather to spawn you and ignite something bigger inside of you. Because fear oftentimes can be false evidence appearing real. If you're standing on the edge of this, a cliff, you got a good reason to be scared. You're jumping out of a plane, you got a good reason to be scared. But most of us are scared of something that we're anticipating and projecting into the future. If we can identify that, we can rewrite it. And that's what I think is being offered this week. All right, let's go on to our Geminis. Yeah, exactly. Happy 1 year anniversary of a 2-week lockdown. Exactly. Oh my gosh. It happened here like a day, either the day of Lucky's birthday or the day before Lucky's birthday on the 19th of March. And of course, you can imagine why I had to buy this mug, because it's my dog's name. Docifera, I always kind of, when I do my prayer work, I always refer to those energies equal to or higher than my own. I don't want to exclude anybody, and I don't want to exclude anybody who could potentially help me. but I don't want to invite in lower energies. So that's why I phrase it that way. Welcome, Kimberly. Good to see you. All right, here we go. Gemini, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Ray. The second is Rosetta. The third is Adriana. And the final is Oceana. Oop. All right, Ray is being joined by the Risk card. Rosetta is being joined by the High Priestess. Adriana is being joined by the Lady of the Lake. And Oceana is being joined by the Letting Go card. This is interesting to me because Ray, for me, she talks about, if you look at the face of the card, she talks about yoga and exercise, but it's so counterintuitive because she's sitting in a meditative position. And I feel like this is really about Gemini sitting down and giving themselves an opportunity to dig deep about what it is that you want. Because that yellow stripe coming out of her third eye is my power chakra. It's flanked by the green stripe, which is my heart, and then the blue stripe, which is how I speak to myself. And I find the wings being kind of translucent interesting to me because that kind of feels like that Gemini a little bit back and forth, like sometimes, Gemini can contemplate things from a very earthly place and a very spiritual place. So now is a time to really risk putting it out there to spirit, getting that connection and getting clear and letting yourself sit in a way where if there is doubt, you put spirit on task to remove that doubt, because many of you Geminis may want to start families, but I do think that this is more about a childlike innocence about what I want to experience, and also connecting to the High Priestess in a way that's saying, I have an inner knowing. I have an inner knowing that I'm supposed to be and feel this. I'm going to experience this. And you may be saying to yourself, why the hell is it taking so long? Where's the love of my life? Where's that great job? Why is it taking so long? And this is where I want to go back to the activation, guys. I want to go back to the idea that the landscape of the world may not have been fertile for you to have all those things at that time. And now, because of the transits and what we've been going through, a lot of those obstacles have been removed. And now is a time to start to demonstrate as part of a group of light workers that what you crave to experience is coming to fruition, because Adriana is leading you towards the answers to your prayers through the storm, because you've been honest and truthful with yourself overall. Now continue to hang in there, because Oceana is saying it's time to take action on the deepest truth. And now it's time to write it the way you want to. You guys that watch me a lot know that I don't think this is letting go. I think this is the song Let It Go from the movie Frozen. It's funny how some distance makes everything look small, and the fears that once controlled me can't get to me at all. It's time to see what I can do to test the limits, to break through. No right, no wrong, no rules for me. I'm free. That's what this transit, that's what Saturn and Pluto were doing. They were starting to break up the shackles, starting to transform them, and really digging deep as to what are these old thoughts that were given to us versus ones that we created ourselves. So now it's time to really risk asserting yourself towards what you know and the deepest part of yourself, and trust that you are being led through the storm. And now, as we move, the new moon is going to happen, and then 2 weeks later is the full moon, and by the time we're in the full moon, we're in Aries season, so things can start to move forward. That's what I want to say. Very exciting. All right, let's go on to our Taurus. Taurus rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Thank you so much, Jenny B. Thank you. You are just been you're my little earth angel this last couple of weeks. We owe you so much gratitude. And I like the 111. That's pretty perfect. keep our eye on the prize of our thoughts. And if our thoughts aren't serving us, we thank God and the angels for helping us to shift those thoughts. All right, here we go. Oh, Brandon, your brother's has the same birthday as Lucky, March 19th, the last day of winter. All right, here we go. Taurus, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Uranus is creeping up on my moon. Here we go. All right, Taurus. Isaiah's here to say it's time to give birth to new ideas. Archangel Michael is asking us for courage. Azure is saying things are happening. And Ariel's telling us that our psychic experiences are changing the way we're going to operate on this planet. Here we go. Isaiah is being joined by the Grail Knight. Archangel Michael is being joined by the Wealth card. Azure is being joined by the High Priestess. And Archangel Uriel is being joined by the Wind Fairy. So for my Tauruses, Taurus is a fixed sign. It's loyal. It's ruled by Venus. Venus is having a conversation this week with Neptune on the new moon at 20 degrees. When I see the 20 degrees, I can't help but think it's a 2. The new moon is at 2:21 a.m. I'm seeing 2s all over the place. It feels very much as if, I want to say for Taurus, this is the time to start to think in partnership with your dreams and your desires. It's time to start to think that you have the tenacity, that fixed energy can take you where you want to go. But now it's time to bow down to the deepest truth of what you want. Dig down deep, not about what you think you can get, because you're being protected as you give birth to new ideas. And I want to offer it this way, because this idea of Venus, Taurus enjoys luxury. Why not? Taurus enjoys good food, good homes, nice furniture, enjoys things that they're steady, And I feel like there's nothing wrong with that, because Archangel Michael, to me, is asking you to have the courage to claim your harmonious wealth. This is where you're feeling and thriving in many areas of your life, not just your financial body or your intimate body, but your mental body, your emotional body, your spiritual body. And this week, I will tell you, I'm Venus ruled. My moon is ruled by Venus, and my sun is ruled by Venus. And I have really spent time looking at what I have accomplished that I have started to take for granted. I look around my apartment, I look around my neighborhood, and I could focus in on the noise and the disruption, because there's a lot of that as well. But no, you know what? I've created a life that I'd only dreamt of 10 years ago. And it's important for me not to dumb down those results, because those results are the platform for the next results. That's where I'm going, because in the angel's advice, Azure is saying to Taurus, your desired outcome will happen in the very near future, and it's the vision of what you want for your life. And rather than getting stuck in what you've experienced, because I have this Taurus moon that doesn't really forget. When you've hurt me, and it's not that I'm not a forgiving person, but I tend to have people who go, that's who I am. Or if they apologize, it's like they don't really apologize. They'll say things like, I just want to clean up my karma. And that doesn't necessarily make me feel good. So now I have to move past that. That's the point I'm trying to make. I have to claim my happiness regardless of what other people are doing, because I can get stuck in my thoughts. I can get stuck in my story sometimes. And Ariel is saying, move into your heart, Taurus. Move into your heart. That's what the Grail Knight wants. That's where the magic happens. That's where your fixed energy works for you and starts to make things happen and pulls them into the physical experience. And I want to offer it this way, because I don't know who said the meek should inherit the earth, but I'm giving that 2 thumbs down. I think it's like, claim your joy. If you like luxury, then be the most luxurious person and invite others to enjoy luxury in their life as well. Whatever it is, grab onto that Venusian energy and sing it to the rafters. All right, on to our final sign, Aries. Sometimes when I say Aries, I laugh, because when I was a little girl in grammar school, My grandma was studying astrology, and this is back in the day when you had to figure all the calculations out by hand. Oh, it's really hard. But they would talk about me being a Libra sun. My grandma didn't talk much about, with me. I was grammar school, so why would she? But anyway, and they would talk about Libras being indecisive. And I was like, I don't get it, man. I'm totally decisive. Aries rising. All right, here we go. And as I've gotten older, while I might have been a little fiery and blunt and aggressive as I was younger, I've turned that into assertion and truth-seeking and courage, pioneering, willing to brave the unknown. All right, Aries, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Here we go. Our first angel is Archangel Gabriel. The second is Adriana. The third is Chantal. And the final is Bridget. Can't wait to see what's going on here because I'm already getting some messages. Archangel Gabriel's being joined by the High Priestess. Adriana's being joined by the Partnership card. Chantal's being joined by the Forgiveness card. And Bridget's being joined by the Earth Fairy. And so this is what I want to say. The first thing I thought when I saw the spread, Aries, is sometimes you think you're too strong and that, you're not palatable for others. And I want to say I disagree 100%. Because I believe that this might be a little bit of self-criticism that is unnecessary. Archangel Gabriel talks about communications, talks about having a divine life's purpose in arts. But I really think that this is Aries. This is your everyday activities. This kind of feels like it's the communications card is representing how we do work, our social media, how we're always on our phones and everything, blah, 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 blah. And then, but I think this is about Aries, the vision you have for how you want your life to be in an everyday basis. And I want to put it this way, because I don't think Aries ever wants to give up their pioneering spirit, their willingness to move forward, their truth seeking. But I do think that Aries wants a certain amount of compassion from their partners, from the people in their lives, not to just nail them as the fiery Aries, but to see them for the pioneering spirit they have. Because I feel like, and I'm going to just say this, I feel like this particular spread is about Aries in love. And Aries in love may think I've got to be by myself because I'm too difficult for other people, or it's hard for me to find a partner and be the strong individual that I am. And I disagree because I think Adriana is leading you towards the answers to your prayers in partnerships. And then I have Chantal, the romance angel, and the forgiveness card. And this to me feels like, oh my gosh, I have this epiphany that I can be myself in a relationship and it is okay with my partner. There used to be someone named April on this channel who did a weekly show, and she did she's an astrologer, and she did a chart on Christy Teigen and John Legend. And Christy is this she's kind of a bit of a wild card. She says kind of crazy things. And she was showing in the chart how John, even though he seems kind of shy and quiet in comparison to her, how she resonates and intrigues him and inspires him. And this is what I think is going on for Aries, that there is this dynamic where when you accept yourself for who you are, your partner too will accept yourself for who you are. And so it's time to look deeper into the foundation of who you are and to start to assert yourself in a way that says, you know what? I don't have to always be independent. I don't always have to be by myself. I'm not a lone soldier. I feel like there's an opportunity for you to have some sort of reconciliation. Venus will also rule, romance in some ways. I mean, not like the way the fifth house does, but she's the goddess. She's Aphrodite, she represents that dynamic. And I feel like Aries, may sometimes just feel so much Martian energy that love feels a little elusive. And I think it's time to rewrite that story. And to know that Spirit is bringing you a partner that would appreciate your strength, appreciate your leadership, appreciate your pioneering dynamic, your willingness to go and stand up for those that you love. So as this new moon and as we have this week offer us some very dreamy, wonderful opportunities to really kind of put into play what do I want to start to birth as I go into my Aries season? What do I want to start to really take action and claim for myself? Because spirit, the angels, God, source energy, whatever you want to call that rules this planet, is taking its directive from you. And there is no choice into who has lack and who has abundance. It's alignment to our own vision of ourselves. And then the universe comes together to start to bring those experiences to us that then offer others the same alignment. And then again, as I've said, we go into the age of Aquarius, which really is the nirvana. To me, that's the nirvana of self-expression and the acceptance of that through community. All right, that's it for this week. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an angel therapy practitioner, Reiki master, intuitive guide, and empowerment coach. I'm here every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Pacific with Angels and Astrology. This is the Angels' advice for traversing the transits. So if you'd like to book a reading with me, please go look in the information below. I'm available on Lotta's website. And otherwise, I just want to wish you all a great week and a happy new moon. And I'll be back next Sunday as we in the Pacific go into daylight savings time. Sending all of you love and light. Peace out.